Hello children, how are you all? Are you ready for the exams? Okay, very good. I think we have completed successfully 6 lessons of revision. The first lesson nutrition, second lesson respiration, third lesson transportation, fourth lesson excretion, fifth lesson coordination, sixth lesson reproduction. And today we are going to revise the seventh lesson, coordination in life process. So it is very important and very small lesson, but it has got more important in final examination. So most of the 2-mark questions, diagrams, and then 4-mark questions are being asked from 7th lesson. So 7th lesson is also equally important as of the previous lessons. So today we are going to revise what are the questions going to be given from 7th lesson. Okay, how you have to write. Are there any diagrams to be coming from this lesson? And then most frequently you should remember the flowcharts. Flowcharts are being asked from all the lessons, and 7th lesson we have one flowchart. It is very important for 2-mark question. And then activities. The 7th lesson is completely piled up with more than 8 activities. And then we have we have the structure of small intestine, that is villi. Villi diagram is very important for 2-mark question. And then the peristaltic movement of esophagus, it is also very important for 2-mark question. You have to study this and practice the diagrams. Tabular forms, esophagus tabular form is there, and then peristaltic movement in stomach, that is also given in the form of a table, that is a flow chart. It is also very important. So all the questions, mostly 20% are being covered from this lesson. So you should well get prepared and revise this lesson. Okay children, we'll go into the revision. So in 7th lesson, the first page, it starts with hunger pangs. Hunger pangs. This question is also important, very frequently asked 1-mark question. What are hunger pangs? Okay, the feeling sensation, hungry feeling sensation in our body, it is called as hunger pangs. How you get hunger pangs? How you get those hunger pangs? It is mainly important, or it is produced by 2 important hormones. First one is ghrelin. It is important hormone, and second one is leptin. These 2 hormones are responsible for hunger pangs. Okay, so ghrelin, it stimulates the hunger. Aakali vestundi. Okay, aakali veyadaniki upayogapadutundi hormone ghrelin. And once you fill your stomach, okay, my stomach is filled, no more hunger, inka aakali veyatledu chalu bus entapto saripotundi ani anukunedi leptin. So ghrelin and leptin are the 2 hormones which are responsible for generating hunger pangs in our body. These hunger pangs, or the stimulation of hunger, reside in our body for 30 to 45 minutes. Okay, these hunger pangs are generated in our body for 30 to 45 minutes, which are being stimulated by 2 important hormones, that is ghrelin, and the hunger is suppressed by the hormone called as leptin. These 2 hormones are under the control of one important nerve called as vagus nerve. It is the vagus nerve, or you can also call it as 10th cranial nerve. 10th cranial nerve. So these leptin, ghrelin are under the control of vagus nerve, or the 10th cranial nerve. This nerve stimulates the production of ghrelin and stimulates the production of leptin. So in this, you should remember all these points. Ghrelin and leptin are responsible for hunger pangs. They are under the control of vagus nerve, which is also called as the 10th cranial nerve, which is present in the brain region, that is diencephalon. Okay, then in this lesson we are going to study many activities, like how the smell and taste are connected. How can you feel the smell? Okay, most of the activity questions are discussed. You have to open your textbook and then read all these activities. activities are equally important from this lesson. So in the textbook, if you are going to open the page number 146, we have activity 2, okay, and activity 3 from page number 147, these activities, and then 148 activity sugar crystals over the tongue. That means, see, in activity 2 and activity 3, they just give a small piece of ginger or a small piece of asafoetida or any molecule in the form of solid form. If they are going to place on your tongue, do you feel the taste? No, isn't it? We can feel only if you chew it or grind it. In another activity, in the activity of 4, they have given you, if you are mixing that sugar crystal or if you are mixing that ginger in water and placing a drop of water on your tongue, can you feel the taste? Yes, we can easily feel the taste. Why? Because mixed solution, that is when it is mixed in water, when one water drop is kept on our tongue, we can easily recognize because it is in dissolved form. So activity 4 is also important. Coming to page number 149, we have the flow chart. Here, see, this flow chart is very important. You should practice this flow chart. So from the tongue, the taste is produced. This taste goes to brain and nose. These are responsible for smelling sensation because of the presence of olfactory receptors. And then nostrils. These are, mouth. This mouth produces salivary glands which can know the taste. Whereas the tongues consist of taste buds. So this flow chart is important. You should practice. They may give all the words in this, hiding any one of the word. Okay, for example, they may close this taste. So you should be able to write what is present in this position. So this flow chart is very important. Next we have activity 5. In this activity 5, they are asking about chalk piece. Chalk piece activity. See, if you keep the whole chalk piece in a water, it takes more time to digest, isn't it? Or otherwise, if you are chewing, if you are grinding into small pieces, the chalk piece into powder, if you are mixing the powder in water, it is easily dissolves. So you should know the difference. Any food material which is entering into our body, if it is in solid form, it takes more time for digestion. Otherwise, if it is in the powder form, it is in simple form, it can be easily digested. That is activity 5. Next we are going to discuss about activity 6. That is about, see, here we have to know about the teeth. Very important, ma. How many teeth are present in our body? Do you know? Okay, there are about 32 teeth present in our body. These 32 teeth are divided into 4 types. They are incisors, canines, molars and premolars. Okay, so teeth, they are divided into 4 types based on their size and based on their function. Okay, so incisors, they are responsible for cutting. Incisors are responsible for tearing of food. Canines are responsible for cutting of food. Whereas molars and premolars are responsible for grinding and chewing of food materials. Okay, children. So incisors are responsible for tearing of food materials. See, when you are eating non-vegetarian food, you tear your food, isn't it? That is because of the presence of incisors. When you are eating some fruit like apple or guava, you cut the fruit first, isn't it? So that cutting is done with the help of canines. Molars and premolars are responsible for chewing and grinding. See, when you keep a small amount of food into your mouth, what you will do? You chew it, isn't it? You grind it. Thus, grinding and chewing is done by molars and premolars. Okay? So then they will be asking about what is the dental formula. They will be asking about the dental formula. So dental formula is 2 by 2, 1 by 1, 2 by 2, 3 by 3. This is the dental formula of human beings. This is also very important 1 mark question. Understood? Then they will asking what are the 4 types of teeth, how many teeth are present, what is the dental formula, what is the use of molars and premolars, what is the use of incisors, what is the use of canines. So they will be asking. And coming to the teeth, they will be asking one more question. What is mastication? What is mastication? One more question. Mastication is nothing but after keeping the food into your mouth, what you will do? You go on chewing the food. You go on grinding the food. The process of chewing or grinding the food is called as mastication. Okay, children? So, next we have activity 6. So, you should know the dental formula. You should know what are the functions of incisors. Should know what are the functions of canines. What are the functions of molars and premolars. Next we have activity 7. The activity 7 is very important question which is being frequently asked. Okay. The action of saliva on floor. Action of saliva on floor. Or atta. Atta is nothing but the wheat flour, we call it as atta. Isn't it? So this activity is being frequently asked. So what you will do in this? First you will prepare a solution. 10 ml solution of the wheat flour. 10 ml solution of wheat flour and divide into 2 parts, 5 ml and 5 ml. Take into separate test tubes. Okay, here 5 ml, here 5 ml you will take. In one test tube what you will do, you will add little amount of saliva which is collected from your mouth, and then in one test tube you are not going to add anything. After some time you should add you should add iodine reagent. Should add iodine reagent for both the test tubes. So after some time if you observe, the test tube which is added with saliva, it changes its color into bluish black. Changes its color into bluish black, which indicates that the action of saliva on the floor, that is in the floor, in the atta, what is present? Carbohydrates are present. So iodine reagent, what it do? It act on carbohydrates and change the color into bluish black, isn't it? Whereas this 5 ml test tube which will not contain any flour, it does not show any change in the color. So by this you can prove that saliva act on carbohydrates. In first lesson we have discussed, no? In nutrition lesson we told that the salivary glands produce saliva. Saliva is responsible for converting or digesting carbohydrates into maltose, isn't it? Because of an enzyme called as ptyalin. Understood? So ptyalin or amylase, salivary amylase, which is present in the saliva, act on carbohydrates and change into simple sugars called glucose or maltose. So this activity 7 is also very important question. Understood? Next we have the table of activity 8. It is about pH value. You have to know what is the pH of saliva. pH of saliva is alkaline in nature. It is always 7. Okay. Next we have see here we have this table, the esophagus table. This we have here, wall secretes. Okay. Next we have this tabular form. As I told you, flowcharts and tables are important. So you have to get by heart all these, this one and this one. They may be asking any one of the table to write down. Okay now. Next we have activity 9. This is also very important activity question which is being frequently asked. So in this activity, activity is nothing. We will take a cycle cube. In this, we will apply some grease. Okay, we will apply some grease. And then we will take a potato of size which can introduce into this. Which can easily enter into this. Okay, so after introducing the potato, while putting the potato inside, it just do not go freely, isn't it? What we'll do, we'll give some force, we'll apply some force, then it will go into the next position. Again after giving some force, it will move. it will move slowly. So when it is moving, it produces a wave-like movement. See, it produces some wave-like movement. This wave-like movement, we are calling it as peristalsis. This wave-like movement is called as peristalsis. Okay, this is also very important question for 2 marks. What do you mean by peristalsis? The wave-like movement which is exhibited by esophagus in our body, it is called as peristalsis. Regarding this, we have a diagram in textbook. See, in the page number 154. This peristaltic movement diagram, this is also very important. You need to practice this diagram. Next, after coming to this, we have the tabular form. You can see the peristaltic movement in the stomach. See here how the food has been entered, and then next it moves slowly, and ultimately it's moved into the duodenum. This tabular form is also equally important. So you have to practice this peristaltic movement in esophagus, and then in the page number we have the diagram, the small intestine, villi. You have seen now the page number 157, the structure of the villi. This is also very important question. They may give the diagram and ask you to label, or they will directly ask you to draw the structure of villi. Understood, children? So this is also very important activity based question you have to learn. And next, here also we have one more flow chart. This is also equally important. Okay, next, coming to the very important 4-mark question, we have why the brain is, the alimentary canal is called as the enteric system, the second brain. Why the alimentary canal or the digestive system or the enteric system, it is called as the second brain. Second brain. So this is very important mark for 4-mark question. Very important question for 4-mark question. Why it is called? Okay, second brain, it consists of neurotransmitters. It consists of neurotransmitters. These transmitters are responsible for producing enzymes whenever it is required. For example, you are keeping the food in the saliva, salivary gland in the tongue. Saliva will be produced. Okay, when it enter into the esophagus, then when it enter into the stomach, in the stomach it produces enzymes like ptyalin, okay, trypsin, all these enzymes in order to convert the carbohydrates and proteins. Next, it moves into small intestine. In the small intestine, it produces lipase in order to digest the lipids. So all these enzymes are being produced by itself whenever you are keeping the food. That means there is not under the control of your brain. Initially they are produced automatically when you are keeping the food into the mouth. So that is because of the presence of billions of neurotransmitters right from the mouth to the last part of the digestive system, that is anus. So this is also very important 4-mark question which is going to be asked from the 7th lesson. Understood, children? Let us revise once again. So in the 7th lesson, the first question to be asked, it is about hunger pangs. We told that hunger pangs are produced by 2 important enzymes, that is ghrelin and leptin, and the duration for hunger is 30 to 45 minutes. Next, we have seen the activities. Activity right from 1 to 9 are equally important. All the activities in this 7th activity and 9th activity are important. That is action of saliva on floor, and how the peristaltic movement can be observed in a cycle tube with the help of a potato. This is also very important activity. Then what is the pH of the saliva? This is also important question for half-mark question. The alkali, the saliva is alkali in nature. It is pH 6, beyond 6 it is having the value. So it is alkali in nature. pH is 7.5. The saliva pH is 7.5. Then we have to discuss about teeth, the mouth. We have seen in the mouth we have saliva, and this saliva is produced by 3 pairs of salivary glands. two pairs of lingual glands, sublingual glands and parotid glands. These are the three pairs of salivary glands which are present. Next, these salivary glands are responsible for producing saliva. Saliva contain an important enzyme known as salivary amylase, or it is also called as ptyalin. Okay children, next we have discussed about the teeth which is present. The number of teeth is 32. It is divided into 4 types based on its function. Canines, incisors, molars and premolars. Canines are responsible for cutting of the food material. Incisors are responsible for tearing of food materials, whereas molars and premolars are responsible for grinding of food materials or chewing of food materials. Next we have seen the dental formula 2 by 2, 1 by 1, 2 by 2 and 3 by 3. This is the human dental formula. Next we have discussed about mastication. What do you mean by mastication? The process of chewing food or the process of grinding food. So while grinding, what you will do? The complex food material break down into small particles so that digestion is easy. Digestion becomes easy. So the process of grinding the food materials or chewing the food materials, it is called as mastication. So mastication will be asked for 1 mark question. Okay children. Next we have discussed about the 4 mark question, that is why the enteric nervous system is called as the second brain. It is called as the second brain because it consists of billions of neurotransmitters which are responsible for secreting enzymes. So because they secrete enzymes, at the correct time how the food is entering into our body, at that time the enzymes are produced. They do not depend on a brain for the signals. It can digest or it can produce the enzymes by itself. That's why we are calling it as second brain. Okay. Next we have, as I told you, the flowcharts. The flowcharts from this lesson are very important. Next we have, I forgot to tell you about rumination. Rumination is also a very important question. What do you mean by rumination? And give examples. So what do you mean by rumination? The process of taking the food when it is available and chewing the food leisurely. The process it is called as rumination. అంటే ఫుడ్ అవైలబుల్గా ఉన్నప్పుడు ఫుడ్ని తీసేసుకోవడం. వాటికి ఎప్పుడైతే ఖాళీ టైం దొరుకుతుందో వాటిని మళ్ళీ దే బ్రింగ్ బ్యాక్ ద ఫుడ్. మళ్ళీ వెనక్కి స్టమక్లోంచి ఫుడ్ని మౌత్కి తెచ్చుకొని నెమ్మదిగా వాటిని చ్యూయింగ్ చేయడం అనమాట. ఆ ప్రాసెస్ని ఏమని పిలుస్తున్నాం అంటే రూమినేషన్. ద ప్రాసెస్ ఆఫ్ టేకింగ్ ద ఫుడ్ మెటీరియల్స్ వెన్ ఇట్ ఈస్ అవైలబుల్ and bringing back the food and chewing the food leisurely, that is called as rumination. And best example for rumination is cow. All the herbivorous animals like cow, buffalo, these are the examples for rumination, and such type of animals are called ruminants. Such type of animals are called as ruminants. I think you have seen many times. ఎప్పుడైనా చూసారు మీరు కౌ ఒక దగ్గర అలాగా కూర్చొని ధీమాగా అది ఏం చేస్తుంది, నెమ్మదిగా మౌత్లో ఫుడ్ అనేది చూ చేసుకుంటుంది అనమాట. ఆ చూ చేసుకునే ప్రాసెస్ని మనం ఏమని పిలుస్తున్నాం అంటే రూమినేషన్. ఓకేనా, తెలుగులో నెమర వేసుకోవడం అంటారు. అది ఏం చేస్తుంది, నెమ్మదిగా వాటిని డైజెస్ట్ చేసుకుంటూ ఉంటుంది అనమాట. సో బెస్ట్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఫర్ రూమినెంట్ యానిమల్స్ ఈజ్ cow and buffalo. This is also very important question. Okay children, I think you have understood the lesson very well. I think you will revise the lesson once again. Take out your textbook, go through the textbook once again. You study, note down the important sentences in the form of a brief sentence. Underline each word so that you can easily grasp the point. Okay, after listening to my lesson, if you are going to open the textbook and read, it makes easier. Okay, as usual, I will give the question paper from this only from 7th lesson. You should be able to write the answers. Sit aside, don't get disturbed. So sit solitudely and then start answering the question. If you are able to answer, okay, it is good, you have understood the lesson. If not, once again open the textbook, revise the lesson and then study. Okay children, I think you have understood well. Wish you all the best. Thank you. Coordination. Coordination in life process. Human body is a wonderful machine There are different life processes in living organisms like respiration, digestion, blood circulation, excretion, nervous system, which are all present in our body, and they are present at specific places and carry out their specific function in a coordinated manner. And just like when a cricket player wants to play the game, the cricket team leader will coordinate with the other members so that they can win the game. In the same manner, in our body, different systems coordinate with one another so that all the reactions takes place in our body and functions are carried in a good manner. In this chapter, we shall go a step further to experience the complexities involved and appreciate the wonderful integration in our life process. Every process is dependent on other to keep the body in good condition. To understand this concept, in this lesson, in 7th lesson, we have taken the example of digestive system which is coordinated with other system as an example. Children, can you observe this picture? Yes. It is nothing but feeling hungry. A major cause for feeling hungry lies in the physiology of blood circulation. Whenever the levels of blood filled with glucose falls down, then we get hunger pangs in stomach. This gain involves production of a series of proteins, some of which are hormones like ghrelin. Secretion of hormone ghrelin starts in the stomach when it goes empty. Ghrelin is secreted from certain cells in the wall of the stomach. Hunger pangs start to occur in the stomach due to hunger generating signals that reach the brain from the stomach due to the secretion of ghrelin hormone. It is believed that diencephalon in forebrain and vagus nerve, which is also called as the 10th cranial nerve, play an important role in carrying these hunger pang signals to the brain. This hunger pang continue up to 30 to 45 minutes. Increase in ghrelin levels result in the sensation of hunger and motivation to consume food. Whereas there is another hormone called leptin which is secreted that suppress the hunger. So this hunger pang question is very important, children, which comes for 1 mark question or 2 mark question. What are hunger pangs? The hungry feelings in the stomach is called as hunger pang. What are the hormones involved in these hunger pangs? Yes, children. Ghrelin and leptin. Ghrelin is responsible for increasing the hunger, whereas leptin is secreted to suppress the hunger. This is also very important question, children. You have to remember the enzymes, that is leptin as well as ghrelin. Children, we already learned many times taste and smell are closely related. Isn't it or not? See, for example, if you are suffering with cough and a cold, you will make the difference in taste of certain food items. Isn't it? So if you are suffering with cold or cough, can you feel the smell? No. So there is a connection between taste and smell. Taste and smell are intimately entwined. If you want to taste the food materials, the food should be dissolved in saliva. On the other hand, we can taste the food that is in the form of liquid only. Children, we have done the experiment in our class. Did you remember? See, we have taken sugar crystals and kept on the tongue. Can you recognize the taste? Or if you make the sugar into a powder, mix it with water, make it sugar solution and place a drop of sugar solution on the tongue. So which you can tell the taste faster? Is it in solid sugar crystals or liquid solution? Yes, children, very good. You can tell the taste of the sugar which is in liquid form. Same way, the food whatever we are eating, it should be dissolved in our saliva. We know that different types of taste buds are present in the tongue. The dissolved food enters into the cup-like taste buds. The taste is carried out to the brain for analysis. Then only we know the taste of the food materials. Coming to the smell, how taste and smell are related. We know that in the nose we have chemoreceptors. So all these we have discussed in our 9th class now about sense organ 6th lesson. Yes, nose contains a special type of cells called chemoreceptors, which are also called as olfactory receptors. These olfactory receptors trigger the signal in the form of nerve impulse to the brain where smell is detected. Similarly, we take food into our mouth, the taste bud sends signal to the brain. So children, you can here remember two things. Taste is recognized by the taste buds and smell is recognized by the chemoreceptors called olfactory receptors. Children, can you identify this diagram? Yes, it is Russian scientist Ivan Pavlov who conducted experiments on dog. This experiment we studied in 9th class. This is the diagram of a tongue and a palate. Taste can be identified easily when the tongue is pressed against the palate. As we know, tongue is sensory in function and contains taste buds. These taste buds are tiny papillae with an opening on top. Within them, there are several taste sensitive cells. Any food substance, when placed on the tongue, get dissolved in the saliva secreted by the 3 pairs of salivary glands in the mouth. When the tongue is pressed against the palate, the food substance is pressed against the opening of the taste bud, letting it to reach the taste cells and trigger the taste signals. And finally, the taste is recognized in the brain. So if you want to taste the food, we can only taste when we press the food against the palate present in the mouth region. The food in the mouth has to be broken down into tiny pieces to increase the surface area for the action of substances that aid in digestion. So always the food should be in simple form. This whole process takes place in the mouth with the help of teeth, salivary glands and the tongue. These three are involved in the process of converting or breaking the food materials into tiny pieces so that the process of digestion occur easily. Children, did you observe the diagram? Yes, this is the diagram showing different types of teeth present in our body. What is the function of teeth? Very good. Teeth help in chewing food materials. How many teeth do you have? Yes, children, very good. An adult human being have 32 teeth. Different types of teeth in our mouth helps in digestion process. So in this diagram, we can see that there are 4 different types of teeth present. Incisors, canines, molars, premolars. Can you see it, children? Yes, we have incisors, canines, molars, premolars. Based on their position, the numbering for dental formula is given. The dental formula is 2 by 2, 1 by 1, 2 by 2, 3 by 3. And the teeth are different in their size as well as in their structure. So, the function is also different. If you take incisors, incisors have sharp edge which is responsible for cutting of food materials. Next, canines. Canines have sharp pointed edge which are responsible for tearing of food materials. While molars and premolars, they have blunt and flat surface which are responsible for grinding and chewing. So you should remember, children, the dental formula, that is 2 by 2, 1 by 1, 2 by 2, 3 by 3. As the food cannot be swallowed directly, the teeth help in grinding, chewing and shredding it into small parts. This process is called as mastication. For this purpose, the surface muscles of the jaw help in biting and chewing actions and move the jaw up and down, forward and backward during the process of mastication. The fifth cranial nerve from the brain has been found to control the movement of muscles in the jaw during the process of mastication. Children, next from page number 151, activity 7, the action of saliva on floor. This is also very important question for 4-mark questions. See, here you can see that there are 2 test tubes where it is filled with the starch solution or the flour solution. The procedure how you have to write: take a test tube, fill it with water, add a pinch of flour to it, shake the test tube well till the flour gets mixed. Take a few drops of this in watch glass and test for the presence of starch by putting a drop of dilute iodine solution. A blue-black color confirms the presence of starch. Under the action of autonomous nervous system, saliva is secreted by the 3 pairs of salivary glands to moisten the food to make chewing and swallowing easier. As a result of chewing, food forms into a slurry mass called bolus. So, children, when food is mixed with saliva, it forms into a slippery substance, isn't it? So that the food can be easily transported from mouth to esophagus. The structure when food is mixed with saliva, that structure is called as bolus. This bolus is transported into the next part, that is esophagus, by the action of swallowing with the help of tongue. So here, children, you have to remember that the enzyme salivary amylase, which is present in the saliva, break down the large starch molecule into smaller subunits, usually into glucose. This is also we have discussed in first lesson. Children, we have an enzyme table. In that we discussed about the salivary amylase, which is also called as ptyalin. Did you remember it? Yes. So the mechanism of swallowing is also under the nervous coordination, and its control center is somewhere in the brainstem, that is medulla oblongata. During mastication, the food size becomes convenient to swallow. Once the food enters from the mouth, the next part of the digestive system is? Yes, very good. It is the long tube-like structure called as esophagus. So, children, remember that esophagus do not secrete any enzymes. Then how the food will be transported? The food will be transported because of the walls of the esophagus secrete substance called as mucus. So for this also we have an activity from page number 153. How can you show the movement of food in the esophagus? So in the picture you can see the children. Take a piece of a waste cycle tube and insert 1 or 2 potatoes into it. Before you introduce the potato into the tube, lubricate the inner side of the tube with oil so that it can easily enter into the tube. In the same way, we have to smear oil over the potatoes. Insert the oil coated potatoes into the tube. Now you try to push the potatoes by squeezing the tube. Slowly the potato moves from one place to the next place. In the same way, the process of peristalsis occurs in our esophagus, where mucus helps in the movement of bolus from the esophagus till it reaches the stomach. For this process, esophagus is made up of two types of muscles called circular muscles and longitudinal muscles. This contraction of circular muscles and longitudinal muscles helps in the squeezing of the food downwards. This movement is called as peristalsis. So in simple language, we can say that peristalsis is a wave-like movement. Okay, this wave-like movement or peristalsis is due to the contraction of circular muscles as well as longitudinal muscles. This is involuntary and it is under the control of autonomous nervous system. Yes children, this is the diagram for peristaltic movement of bolus. Here you can see when you keep the food into your mouth, it slowly moves from the mouth to the esophagus. How does it move? The walls of the food pipe, that is esophagus, secrete a slippery substance called mucus. Mucus lubricates and protects the esophageal walls from damage. This helps the food bolus to slide down easily from the mouth to the stomach. Just we have done in our previous activity, that is the potato with the tube. Beside this, saliva also helps in the movement of bolus into the esophagus, which ultimately moves into stomach. Now, the food from the esophagus enter into the stomach. Isn't it children? Yes, we have seen in first lesson. So, when the food enters from the esophagus into the stomach, the walls of the stomach secrete juices which contain hydrochloric acid. We have seen that stomach release gastric juice, isn't it? This gastric juice consists of enzymes as well as acid called hydrochloric acid, that is HCl. We have seen in first lesson, no? Yes. So now the contraction of stomach muscles squeeze and mix the food with the acid and juices of the stomach. These digestive juices turn the food into a smooth porridge-like consistency called chyme. As the process of digestion in the stomach nears completion, the contraction of the stomach decreases. This prompts the muscles which are present in the stomach called pyloric sphincter at the opening of the stomach and the first part of the small intestine or duodenum to relax. This opens the pathway into duodenum, releasing the partially digested food, that is what we call it as chyme, in small quantities into duodenum. So in this diagram, children, you can observe the process taking place in the stomach. Propulsion, grinding, retropulsion. So here stomach also exhibits the wave-like movement called peristalsis. Peristalsis involves the contraction of the muscles behind the food and the relaxation of the muscles in front of the food, giving rise to thirst that pushes the food forward through the digestive canal. So, once this retropulsion, the last stage takes place, the food from the stomach enter into the next part. So children, what is the next part after stomach? Very good. It is small intestine. So one thing you should remember, children, the process of peristalsis is very important. It is because of the contraction and relaxation of muscles, and this peristalsis starts from esophagus. Okay, so same peristalsis also continues into the stomach. Children, observe this diagram. Yes, it is the schematic diagram of villi. It is a part of small intestine. So after stomach, the food enter into the small intestine. So this diagram is also important for 2-mark question. You have to get practice this diagram. So why the small intestine is divided into these finger-like projections called villi? Do you know? Yes, very good. This villi increases the surface area so that the food retained in the folds can remain longer, thereby enhancing the process of absorption. Can you identify the diagram? Yes, it is cow. Did you see the cow or a buffalo sitting under a tree or somewhere else, and something is moving from its throat to the mouth? Have you ever observed it? Yes, children. The cow or a buffalo starts chewing. It is the bolus moving from a part near the stomach to the animal to its mouth. It is reverse peristalsis. Though it is a common process in ruminants such as cow and buffalo, the stomach to store quickly the swallowed food, but in human beings it is mainly a protective mechanism to expel unwanted substances from the food canal. So here you have to know what is the definition of rumination. Rumination is the process of taking the food when it is available and then leisurely chewing the food material during its leisure time. The best example for ruminant animals is some of the herbivorous animals like cow and buffalo. The digestive tract is unique among internal organs because it is exposed to a large variety of physiochemical stimuli from the external world in the form of indigested food. The neural apparatus of our digestive tract comprises of such a vast and complicated network of neurons that it has been nicknamed by scientists as the second brain. Although its influence is far reaching, the second brain is not the seat of any conscious thoughts or decision making. Technically, it is known as the enteric nervous system. The second brain consists of a sheet of neurons embedded in the walls of the long tube of our gut, that is our digestive system or alimentary canal, which measures about 9 meters, which starts from esophagus and ends in the anus. The second brain contains some 100 millions of neurons, more than in either the spinal cord or the peripheral nervous system. Children, you can observe in the diagram, see how the brain and our digestive system are interconnected. So this is an example of enteric nervous system. Next, we are at the end of the session. I have given you the question paper which is of 25 marks. It is a revision test only from the 7th lesson. You please try to read the questions and answer it. It is equally important for your preparation. All the best, children. Stay home, stay safe. And then anyway we are going to have our public examinations. So wish you all a very good luck. Thank you.